When the famous car maker Henry Ford first invented the assembly line, he hired a man by the name of Mr. Steinmetz to build the generators that would power the assembly line. But one day, after the company had been off and running for a while and Mr. Ford had become very successful, those generators broke down, and Ford had no choice but to call Mr. Steinmetz back and ask him to fix the generators, which he did in no time at all. Then he sent Ford a bill for $10,000. No small sum, especially in those days. So Ford quickly inquired why the bill was so high, and here's what Mr. Steinmetz wrote on that bill. He wrote, "For tinkering on your generators, $10. For knowing where to tinker, $9,990. What choice did Ford have but to pay the fee that this man charged, because he was the only one in the world that knew how to do it to keep the facility up and running? When Ford did not have the wisdom to do what needed to be done, he had to turn to the only one who could. You know, this world boasts in its wisdom. We might think that we are wise, and we might brag about what an educated and progressive society we have built for ourselves. But I still believe that we're nothing more than Mr. Ford, really helpless and needing the only one in all the world that can really do us any good. The wisdom of God far surpasses any human wisdom, any human philosophy, any human idea that we might have. This morning, I want to talk to you about how we perceive the cross. You walk into a church and you're going to see a cross, whether it's above our baptistry, whether it's in jewelry that's worn, whether we go into Sunday school classes and maybe have a portrait of Jesus hanging on the cross. You're going to see the cross in Christianity. The world sees the cross. We just had Easter. They see our images of the cross. But how we perceive the cross makes all the difference in the world. You know, for some people, they look at the cross, and to them it's nothing but foolishness. To them it's nothing more than a joke. To them it's sad that educated people would believe in something like that. There's really three groups of people when it comes to the cross. There's three different ways that people look at the cross. And this morning we're going to continue in that idea. I invite you to 1 Corinthians chapter 1, where we left off last week. We read the first 17 verses in 1 Corinthians chapter 1. This morning we're going to pick up in that 18th verse and we will finish the chapter. So I want us to read verse 18, and then we'll stop and we'll kind of regroup, and then we'll get into the way that we might perceive the cross here this morning. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 18 says, "For the word of the cross is folly, foolishness, to those who are perishing. But to us who are being saved, it is the power of God." I said a minute ago there's really three groups of people that perceive the cross differently, but in the whole realm of things, there's really only two categories that we find ourselves in this morning. You are either perishing today in your sin, thinking the cross is foolishness, or you are being saved by the power that that cross stands for. Today you are either being saved or you are being sentenced to hell, and it all comes down to how you perceive the cross. To you, the cross is either something to snicker at, something to laugh at, or else the cross is something to glory in, to rejoice in, to stand up and sing and lift your hands when we sing about God saving us. And we remember all that He's done, because the cross is the power of God that saves us.